Hello and Namaste. Today in this video we are going to discuss literary devices, symbols and themes of a story A Selfish Giant by Oscar Wilde. If you haven't watched my previous video, kindly go through it. First of all, let us have a look at some of the literary devices used in the story. Personification is the literary device of giving human qualities and characteristics to non-human entities. In the story, Wilde personifies the elements of nature and the inanimate objects in the giant's garden. For example, he describes how the spring came back and how the garden flung its golden gates wide open. This personification of the seasons and the garden itself creates a vivid and emotionally vibrant atmosphere, allowing the reader to connect with the natural world on a deeper level. कुनै पनि जीवन नभएका वस्तुहरूलाई अथवा निर्जीव वस्तुहरूलाई मान्छे जस्तो गरी ट्रिट गर्नु, त्यस्तो व्यवहार देखाउनुलाई पर्सोनिफिकेसन भनिन्छ। पर्सन जस्तो गरी ट्रिट गर्नुलाई पर्सोनिफिकेसन भनिन्छ। Symbolism. Symbolism is the idea that things represent other things. This story is loaded with symbolism. The giant's walled garden represents his isolation and selfishness, while its transformation into a lost, vibrant space symbolizes his spiritual and emotional growth. The children symbolize innocence and the joy of youth, while the little boy symbolizes pure, selfless love. कुनै एउटा कुराले अर्कै कुरालाई चाहिँ देखाइरहेको छ, बुझाइरहेको छ भने त्यसलाई सिम्बोलिजम भनिन्छ। यसको छोटो एउटा उदाहरण भनेको रातो गुलाबको फूलले प्रेमलाई बुझाउँछ। त्यसो भए रातो गुलाबको फूल आफैमा के भयो? एउटा सिम्बोल भयो। Allegory. An allegory is a narrative or visual representation in which a character, place or event can be interpreted to represent a hidden meaning with moral or political significance. The selfish giant can be seen as an allegory for various themes, including the Christian message of redemption and salvation. The giant's journey from selfishness to selflessness reflects the Christian concept of repentance and transformation. The little boy who bears the wounds of love and kindness can be interpreted as a Christ-like figure, as his actions lead to the giant's salvation. एलिगोरीलाई सजिलो भाषामा बुझ्दाखेरि कथा भित्रको कथा चाहिँ एलिगोरी हो भनेर बुझ्न सकिन्छ। Now let us talk about the symbols used in the story. First, the giant's garden. The giant's garden is the central setting of the story and serves as a powerful symbol of nature's beauty and innocence. It represents a paradise where springtime perpetually exists. It contrasts sharply with the bleak and harsh world outside the garden, symbolizing the division between the self-contained happiness of the garden and the desolation of the outside world. The garden, in a way, represents the giant's own heart and soul, which initially mirrors the coldness of his character but later transforms into warmth and compassion. The children. The children who play in the giant's garden represent purity, innocence, and the joy of youth. They symbolize the essential goodness of human nature and the importance of nurturing and caring for the vulnerable. When the giant first drives the children away, it reflects his selfishness and cruelty. However, their return to the garden at the end of the story signifies the redemption of the giant's character and the possibility of change and forgiveness. Third, the tree with blossoms. The tree that blossoms in the garden is a symbol of rebirth and regeneration. Its blossoms represents the return of spring and the renewal of life. The tree's transformation from being barren to blooming mirrors the giant's transformation from selfishness to selflessness. It signifies the idea that Love and kindness can bring life and beauty even to the most desolate places. Fourth, winter. The perpetual winter outside the giant's garden represents the harsh and unforgiving world that exists with one isolates themselves from others and becomes selfish. It is a symbol of the consequences of the giant's actions and attitude. Winter symbolizes the absence of warmth, love, and compassion in the world when people prioritize their own desires over the needs of others. Fifth, the hail, the snow, the north wind, and the frost. The elements of hail, snow, north wind, and frost that cover the garden when the children are initially driven away are symbolic of the giant's cold-heartedness and selfishness. They represent the barriers he has placed around his heart and the consequences of his actions in rejecting the children. These elements also symbolize the emotional and spiritual coldness that can result from a lack of love and generosity. Sixth, the Christ-like figure. In the story, the child who appears in the garden with wounds on his hands and feet is a clear Christ-like figure. He represents selflessness, sacrificial love, and redemption. His wounds parallel the wounds of Christ, symbolizing the suffering that love can entail. His presence in the story is a turning point as he inspires the giant to change and become more compassionate. Seventh, the wall. The wall that surrounds the giant's garden symbolizes the barriers the giant has erected between himself and others. It represents his isolation and separation from the world. The giant's decision to tear down the wall at the end of the story is symbolic of his newfound openness and willingness to connect with others. Eighth, the joyous springtime. The return of spring to the garden, when the children are allowed back in, symbolizes the restoration of life, joy, and happiness. It represents the positive transformation of the giant's heart and the reconciliation between him and the children. Spring is a symbol of hope, renewal, and the possibility of change. Now let us discuss about the themes of the story. First, selfishness and generosity. At the beginning of the story, the giant is depicted as selfish and unkind, refusing to share his beautiful garden with the children. This selfishness results in the garden's perpetual winter, symbolizing the coldness of his heart. As the story progresses, the giant undergoes a transformation and learns the value of generosity and kindness. His act of opening the garden to the children depicts his courtesy and symbolizes the warmth and beauty of a generous spirit. Second, redemption and forgiveness. The giant's initial cruelty and isolation from the children represent his spiritual and emotional distance from others. Through the actions and experiences, he achieves redemption, ultimately becoming a better person. The story underscores the idea that it is never too late to change and seek forgiveness for one's past mistakes. Third, isolation and loneliness. By erecting a high wall to keep the children out, he isolates himself not only from the children but also from the beauty and joy of the world. This isolation leads to a sense of loneliness and desolation, highlighting the negative consequences of cutting oneself off from others. Fourth, innocence and childhood. The story celebrates the innocence and joy of childhood through the characters of the children who play in the giant's garden. Their presence in the story emphasizes the purity, spontaneity, and happiness of youth. The children serve as a reminder of the simple pleasures that can be found in embracing the childlike wonder and innocence within us. Fifth, nature's response to human behavior. The changing seasons in the giant's garden represents the theme of nature's response to human behavior. When the giant is selfish and unkind, the garden remains in a perpetual winter, reflecting the idea that our actions can affect the natural world around us. Conversely, when the giant's heart softens and he becomes kind, spring returns, symbolizing the idea that positive change in human behavior can have a positive impact on the environment. Sixth, sacrifice and love. The little boy's act of selfless love and sacrifice for another child is a powerful theme. His willingness to help and his subsequent suffering illustrate the idea that genuine love often involves sacrifice. This theme highlights the profound impact of selflessness on both the giver and the receiver. Seventh, religious and moral allegory. The selfish giant can be interpreted as a religious and moral allegory. The giant's transformation mirrors themes of Christian redemption, with the little boy symbolizing Christ-like qualities of love, selflessness, and sacrifice. The story conveys the moral lesson that kindness and compassion are virtues to be embraced, echoing Christian teachings of love and forgiveness. Let us talk about the Freytag pyramid. Freytag's pyramid is a map that highlights the dramatic structure, the order of events in which the plot of a story unfolds. This concept was developed by Gustav Freytag, who was a German novelist, critic, and lecturer in the 19th century. The entire plot is driven by a conflict. The protagonist is on a quest to achieve something. Conflict is what stands between a character and their goals. The plot elements represent the different stages of that conflict. Let us discuss about the things that you have to know about Freytag pyramid. First, exposition. Introduction is also known as exposition. Next, inciting incident. It is also known as inciting action. This is included in Freytag's pyramid as the part of the introduction called the exciting force. In updated models, this event gets its own spot on the pyramid. Next, a rising action. A rising action serves the same function as Freytag's rise. Next, climax. Climax, also called the turning point, is the moment the reader or audience has been waiting for. It is the highest point of the action where all the major conflict comes together. Next, falling action. Falling action serves a similar function to Freytag's fall, but includes space for non-tragic fallout. And the last one, resolution. Resolution is also called denouement. Some writers and scholars see these elements as separate parts, with the denouement almost serving as an epilogue. In the resolution, the protagonist conflict is resolved for better or for the worse. Now let us categorize different stages of a story according to the Freytag pyramid. Now first, exposition. The story begins by introducing the selfish giant who wants a beautiful garden. He is depicted as selfish and unkind, preventing children from playing in his garden. Next, inciting incident. The inciting incident occurs when the giant goes on a 7-year visit to his friend Kernis Agar, leaving his garden locked. During his absence, spring and summer don't visit the garden, and it remains in perpetual winter. Next, rising action. The rising action involves the description of how the children sneak into the garden and enjoy playing there when the giant is away. The garden begins to bloom and come to life with the presence of the children. Next, climax. The climax of the story occurs when the giant returns home and discovers the children playing in his garden. He is initially angry and tries to shoo them away, but one child who has been left behind makes him feel that the garden belongs to the children. The giant's heart is deeply touched by the child's words and the sight of his tears. This marks the turning point of the story. Next, falling action. The falling action involves the giant's transformation from a selfish and cold-hearted figure into a kind and loving one. He opens the garden to the children and helps them. The seasons return to the garden and it becomes a place of joy and happiness. The last one, resolution. The story concludes with the giant becoming old and frail. He longs to see the little child he met on the fateful day but cannot find him. However, in the end, the child returns, now bearing the wounds of the crucifixion. The giant recognizes him as the Christ child and they embrace. The giant is taken to paradise as a reward for his change of heart, and the garden remains a beautiful and happy place for the children. This much in this video. Don't forget to smash the subscribe button. See you in the next video. Till then, keep reading, keep growing.
See me now, I'm miles above you. Don't care what they're saying below, 'cause I'm miles above.